Hi everyone. Till now we have talked about the different topics in the DevOps side, and we have covered complete content on the AWS side and the Terraform side. We will be covering more technical contents over the CI/CD part, and that will cover Jenkins and the Kubernetes we will cover up, and then we will move forward with other tools as well. Right now, we are covering the interview questions as well because when you are preparing, you have to go with the interviews as well. You might be preparing yourself for the DevOps interview or the Cloud Ops interview or the platform engineer or any those kind of positions which are related to the cloud, which are related to your DevOps tech stacks, or even if you are the developer, correct? So the developer should also know all these tech stacks because it's being asked in your current roles, correct? When you are being interviewed. So today we will be talking about the Docker, and we will cover up 11 Docker interview questions. The sub number I do have. So we will start with the first one and we will go up to the 11th. So your first question starts with what's the difference between ARGS and ENB? So ARG we can use for like if you were to pass any version number. So you can use the args, but if you have to pass any variables value at the runtime, the dynamic one, you can use the ENB. And talking about the scopes, arcs are limited to your like when you are building the project, building the application. So arc can be utilized within that only, while the ENB is outside the image as well. When you have created the image out of that, when you run that particular image, correct, you can pass the environment variable value, the environment the whatever the variables you have declared, that variable value at the runtime as well. So this value can be utilized out of the like when the build process has happened and it's being run, the application is being done, it can be utilized at that time as well. While args can be utilized within the build process only. Correct. You can read about the differences between the args and DNB as well, and you will be able to answer this particular question. Next questions comes is what is the difference between run and CMD? So these are the two commands which is used in while writing the Docker file. So run command basically we use for writing any instruction. If you want to execute something, you want to install something, like just suppose you are trying to install the npm package. So you can write your command as a run. Run will be in the caps, and then you can pass the command and run npm install. That will install your npm packages. Then if you have to run multiple commands and you have to pass the commands in form of list, correct? So you can use the cmd, where you can pass cmd. Like if you have the java application and you have created a jar out of your java application writing the docker file, so you can pass the command just cmd, and then in the list, like Vivek, like this way you can pass the cmd, and then in the list you can pass the different arguments here, correct? You can pass java hyphen jar, and then the application name, correct? Like if you have created sales, so if you have the Java application, so you can type Java, then you can pass the jar, and then your like app.jar or whatever the file name you have given for your jar file, correct? So that you can pass. So you can read about this one as well more while doing the Google, or you can read in the details. That will help you to make your answer and prepare yourself for the interview. Your next questions comes is what is the multi-stage Docker file? So multi-stage Docker file is just a way to organize your content within the Docker file itself. Like you have to you have to build the image, correct? So in the first step you will be doing the installation of all the required packages. In the second step you will be creating the jar file. In the third step you will be writing something else, correct? So you will just break down all the processes into the multiple steps, so then into the multiple steps or stage, correct? That is called multi-stage Docker file. correct? Or if you have to go for your the Docker compose is different. Here we are talking about the multi-stage Docker, correct? So it will break down the multiple one Docker file into multiple steps. That will be called as your multi-stage Docker file. It's easy to read, so that even if you have developed the Docker file, later on someone can read and someone can understand that. It's you can later on delete those temporary file as well, correct? So if when you know that the first step has been done and the temporary file which has been created at first stage, that can be consumed in the second step, and the later on in the last stage you can delete all the temporary file which you have created. Your next questions comes in, what are best practices during Docker Compose file? So while you are writing Docker Compose file, you should write all the configurations, correct, which are required. Whatever the commands you are writing, if you are writing the run command, so in the at a multiple place, you can, if it's okay, if it can be combined, you should combine the multiple run commands at one place so that it will make your file lighter in a size, and you can store the credentials outside the Docker file if it's required. You can run your Docker file with the different user other than the root as well. So there are other best practices as well. You can read about that as well. Your next question is, what is the difference between CMD and entry point? So CMD we can use for passing the multiple arguments which can be utilized to run your application, while in the entry point it executes only it can execute those kind of application or those kind of command it can execute which you want that it should be executed every time by default. Like if you want to print hello world, or if you have a Python application what you want to run every time whenever you are running the things, correct? So you can pass that argument in the entry point and it will run it by default every time. And it can be also overridden, that the argument what you are passing in the entry point, that can also be overridden, but you will have to pass the particular command for the overriding this entry point. You will have to use the hyphen entry point and then override, while the CMD commands can be overridden just directly by just directly passing the your arguments at the time of Docker run, correct? Then your next questions, what is the difference between add and copy command in Docker? So both of them does the similar kind of stuffs, while the copy does the local copy of the file, correct? It like if you have on the particular server only, if you have a file ABC and you have to move it from ABC to XYZ, the copy command can do that. While you have to fetch some content which are outside the server, which are available on the GitHub, or if you have a compressed file, you have to compress that, or you have to unzip that. So add can be used for that. Or if you have to fetch any content from the S3 bucket, so you can use the add. Get it? In general, we use the copy command for local copying of the file from one place to another place. Then your next question is, why container is called lightweight? Container is called lightweight because it does not have its own OS. Sorry, it does not have its own OS. It just uses the guest OS on the server on which it is running. It uses that particular operating system to run your application, correct? And it has the if it does not have it the operating system, obviously it will be lighter in the weight. It will be having the certain files only which are required, correct? The minimum dependencies. So overall the size of the file becomes the lighter. So your container is called lightweight. Your next question is, what is Docker networking and its types? So there are three to four networking types. So you can the bridge network, then your host network, then overlay network, and then fourth one is MACLAN. So you can read about the all these four types of the networking, and the default one becomes your bridge network. So that is called as a default networking in the Docker. You can read in detail about this question as well. Then your next questions comes here, what is the use of multi-stage Docker file, and write one multi-stage Docker file. So you can practice of writing this multi-stage Docker file, and you can get the example as well. You can share your screen, you can write down the file. That will help you to crack your interview. Next question. What does the Docker container have the same IP as host in host network? You can learn about this, and host has the similar IP address of what the like the container. If it has the host networking, it has the similar IP. That's true. It has the similar IP what the host has. On the others, it does not have, but the host shares the same IP address. Next question is write docker run command and mount the existing volume /var/log with the read permission. So you can you can learn about this docker run where you can use the -v, and then you can attach you can mount the volume, you can give the permissions, correct? So you can read about this docker run command to give the permissions. So thank you in this particular for watching this particular video, and we will come up with more interview questions, the multiple different questions which I have, and these are the real questions which you can practice to crack your interview for the DevOps, for the cloud ops, for the system engineer, and any kind of positions which are related to your cloud, which are related to your DevOps tech stacks. Thank you. We will meet up in the next video with a few more interview questions. Thank you.